Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final demo of the year. Not the final demo, but the last one of this year. I can see quite a few people coming in already, and while everyone's just joining, before we get down to the good stuff, I'll just start off by introducing ourselves. I'm Laura, I'm head of customer success here at Coverage Book. We have David, who's head of support, and he'll be doing the meaty part of the demo. And we have lovely Will over on keyboards, who is will be answering any questions. But everyone's got to be nice to Will today because he's got COVID. So he will be answering as quickly as his fingers will let him. So today we are going to be looking at end of year reports, and we just want to show you a few things in Coverage Book that will hopefully make this process a little bit easier, because obviously you've put all your coverage through, and so there's just some nice ways you can make some quick reports. As always, I will send you the recording once it's finished, so don't worry about having to be scribbling notes down. But if you have any questions, do pop them in the chat, and we'll answer them, or we'll help him answer them. No, he's fine. Thank you everyone for saying get better. But any that we miss off, we might do on purpose so that we can do a bit more of a demo at the end, and we'll try and answer them all. So yeah, feel free to add any questions as you go through. And then lastly, I know how busy you all are, so our aim is to always keep these demos to about half an hour, and I think we've managed it so far. So let's hope that we can do this last one within the half an hour as well. I'm sure we can. We've done a few practices, so it's all good. And for now, I shall pass you over to David.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining our last webinar of the year, as Laura said. I think we've pretty much covered almost all of the features and workflow for Coverage Book, and this is kind of the last thing that will sort of wrap up the year, so to speak, on how to make annual summaries and things like that. So without further ado, I'm going to stop waffling and share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen now. So some of you will be really familiar with this this account if you've visited any of our other webinars. So this is my demo account. What I've done this time round is I have made up some demonstration monthly reports. So if you tend to make individual monthly reports for your clients, or just individual regular reports overall, you can combine them together to create summaries at any point that you like. But especially as we're coming around to year-end reporting, I know that this is something that everyone will want to do. So before we dive into doing that specifically, I just wanted to mention the main area that we're going to be using today, and that is the Coverage Vault page. So hopefully some of you will have been to this page before and had a good look round. But if you click into the Vault, this will show all of the coverage that you've ever added to your account over time. So for some of you that have been with us for quite a while, or for people that add a lot of coverage, this could be a really, really long list. The great thing about this particular page is there are lots of options that you can use to help you quickly find coverage, perhaps to access a clip to go to a book, and you can use lots of different filtering options to kind of really make a curated selection of coverage that you can then add to other books or make summaries with, and so on and so forth. So I do encourage you to come to this area and have a play around. Before we move on to the good stuff, just one thing to mention is that if you do reuse any clips from this Coverage Vault area, it won't count towards your monthly usage because you've already imported them. So basically all you're doing is just adding existing clips to other books. So it will be the same piece of coverage that you're using. So let's start off by looking at how you can really quickly make something like an annual report for your clients. So if you ever get asked, oh, I just need a report super quickly, I just need the headline numbers for X client for the year, and I kind of need that yesterday, then this is a really quick way that you can do it. So down on the left-hand side, you will see that you have collections and books. So collections will be where all of your client folders, or perhaps you have them organized however you like. So what you can do is just click on the particular folder that you're looking for. And then down on below that, you will see that there's a published on, earliest and latest. So all you need to do here, let's just go January 2022. So 1st of January 2022, and we'll go to 31st of December 2022. So this is a full year's worth of coverage for this client, and I've got 12 pieces of coverage for them. So it's a really quick way of just getting to those pieces of coverage. And then what you can do is just click on select all. Oh, excuse me, my mouse is going a bit funny there. And then from here, you have two different options. You can create a new book from the selection of existing coverage, or you can add the selection to an existing book. I'll just see if I can make that a little bit larger so you can see it. So all you need to do here is just click on create new book from existing section, give it a name. And then create the book and add coverage. So that is all you will need to do, and that will essentially just create an annual summary report just of those 12 pieces of coverage for you. So it's a super, super quick way of getting the numbers. And this metric summary page will also include all of the kind of the headline metrics for those 12 pieces of coverage through the year. So hopefully that's a really quick way of doing it. One thing to mention is that if you are using dates to filter for coverage, we will only find clips that have dates added. So you will see that, for example, some of the coverage in my account doesn't have a published date added. What you can basically do is, if that's the case, just make sure that you go in to the clip, select the published on date and give it a date, and then just update that, and it will add that date so that you can then include it in your annual summary report. It can take a few moments for those dates to update in the Coverage Vault page, so it's probably worth doing this as you go along when you're creating reports. So just to also mention here as well, there is a really handy tip that Laura mentioned earlier. And when you're making these kind of reports like this, where you just need all of the coverage together, you may also want to pick out the best pieces that you can show as highlights. And a really quick and easy way to do that, rather than kind of having to sort of look through the coverage and perhaps search for the clips that have the highest views, what you can actually do is, if you just sort the coverage using the one-off sort option, and say, for example, we do that by views largest first, it's a really quick way of getting to the best pieces of coverage if you do measure by something like highest audiences or highest views, highest engagements, or highest DA. And then you can just select the clips that you're interested in, and then go back and just reorder the book however you would like after. So you might want to do that by published date. And then what that will do is it will add those highlighted pieces to your account. So it might just save you a bit of time in sort of searching for the best pieces as you go. So that's a really nice tip. And thank you for that, Laura. So that's a super, super quick way of how you can make a book. There are other ways that you can do it as well with filtering. And I think I saw somewhere on the chat from the corner of my eye about media types. And that's what we're going to look at next. So you'll also see that there is a media type box here. Let me just make my screen bigger again. So if I click into this particular area, there are lots of different options that you will have. So you can break it down by individual social platform, or you can just get to all of your offline or online coverage. Print, radio, social, we have everything included there. So if you ever get asked perhaps by your social team, I just want to see all of the Instagram clips for a particular client, you can actually just filter for those clips in your account. And then once you have those, again, you can just click to select all. And from here, you can now add those clips to a new or existing book in your account. So to create a new book, for example, just click on the create new book from selection option again, and we can call this Instagram coverage. Add that to the right collection and then create that report. And then again, much like you saw before, those clips are now added in their own specific Instagram coverage account, which you can then share with others. You can grab the headline numbers and so on and so forth. Yeah, so lots of different options that you have there. Yeah, and you can sort. So in addition to being able to sort by media type, you can also just look for a specific publication. So for example, if somebody ever says to you, Food Magazine, we've had loads of coverage from them in the last year, and I really want to know how they've done and how many pieces we've had and so on, you can quickly just search for the publication. You can find all of the pieces of coverage that you've added from that particular outlet. And again, you can select individual clips to add to a book, or you can just select all. So it should be quick and easy to help you find the pieces of coverage that you're looking for. Just to mention as well in the coverage vault that as you start to add these filters, they can build up over time. So you'll see that at the top, as I'm selecting things, yeah, so just do a random selection. You'll have all of these filters at the top. What you can actually do is you can clear each filter individually, or you can just clear all filters to start again. So if ever you get stuck and you're like, oh, I'm not seeing all of the coverage, you might just need to clear all of your filters and then you can start from scratch. So that is another really quick way how you can make reports by different media types as well. We're going to look at a bit more in depth now, so how we can create ongoing summary reports, either by just adding those to a book as you go, or actually creating a new one from scratch. So in this particular example, I have got 6 monthly books from January 2022 up to June inclusive. But you could have 12 books for a full year. And I want to make these into a summary that I can share with my stakeholders. So the way to do that is I can go to the coverage vault. I can go to my clients folder, and then I can find the first book that I want to add, which is January 2022. And then I can select all my coverage. And from here, I can just click on create new book like we have done before. I can just call this, oh, here we go. Annual summary, ooh, can't spell now, here we go. And then you can just create the book and add that first month's coverage. And then all you would need to do is just keep repeating the process. So for example, I can just click on my collections folder again. I can go back to February 2022. And I can select this coverage. And now what I can do when I click on create new book from selection, oh, sorry, excuse me. No, I want to go to add selection to existing book because I've already created it. And then what this does is it allows me now to create a new section that I can add that coverage to. So I can call this one February 2022 and add that to its own section as you go. We're doing this by month, but you could do it by any way that you like. So you could bundle up all of your social coverage throughout the year, all of your print, your broadcast. You could do it by location or by by product brand, however you want to do it. That's totally fine. We're just doing it by month as an example. Yeah. So for example, I can just hit on my client folder again, go down and repeat for March. And so on and so forth. So hopefully you get an idea of how you can build up these summary reports over time and it should be fairly straightforward to kind of organize those in individual sections through the report as well. So you can see I've got those pieces of coverage. What does happen is as you add the sections into a report, they kind of add in reverse order. So what you might want to do is actually start from the end of the year and work backwards. But if you do have this happen, you can basically just drag and drop the sections around if you prefer to have them in ascending or descending order. And I'm just going to rename this coverage section to be January 2022 as well. Okay, and we'll just move that up. So there you go. So I've got January to February, January to March in there, and you can just keep going and keep adding new sections of coverage and those ongoing books, and we will total everything up in the metrics summary for you as you go. And then obviously you've got the option of sorting and organizing your coverage in each section. You can choose the best pieces of coverage to show as highlights in this report, and so on and so forth. Now, there is another way that you can do this, and it might be something that you want to think about for next year. So if you do like to build summary reports and spread those out into individual sections, one of the things that you can do is actually just create a blank report with all of those months already in it, and you can format it and get it ready. And then each month that you finalize your reports for your clients, you can just add those as you go. So when you get to the end of the year, hopefully you won't have anything more to do other than just share the report. So for example, here I have created, where did it go? Oh, here we go. My client's pre-prepared annual summary 2022. So I've got this pre-prepared book that I've made, and it's a blank template. I've just got it going back over 6 months. The good thing about this is that you can organize all of your metrics how you like. You can add in your logo in advance. You can change the background color of the report. You can add in any kind of divider slides that you like to sections, and you can get it looking exactly as you like. And then all you have to do is just add the coverage to it as you go. So much like before, we can just go to my client. We can go to the January coverage, add to existing book, go next. And then all I need to do now is I've already got all of my sections of coverage added in. So I just need to go add to January, and then again, just repeat. So you can do this either all at once or perhaps throughout the year to kind of save you time. The real benefit of doing this way as well is that you'll always have an ongoing summary of how many pieces of coverage you've had each month and what the overall numbers are. So it's a really good way of kind of keeping track over time, nice and easily as well. So yeah, just as another example, I can just come here, add that to February, and so on and so forth. And then what you'll see is that, yeah, those clips are now just being added to each of the sections as you go. So hopefully that's given you a good idea of how you can either quickly make a report over a date range or by media type or by a specific publication, and also how you can build more kind of curated and organized books by organizing everything into sections. Sorry, that was my dog yawning. So yeah, hopefully that's 2 different ways that you can create reports using existing coverage. What we're going to look at now is about how you can use highlights as well to kind of create best of reports. So this is I think we mentioned this in our first webinar, and it's something that could be really useful for you. So if you tend to use our highlights feature, so this is where you can pick the best pieces of coverage that you have in a report. To do that, you just click on the gold star icon in the top right-hand corner of any of the clips. And then what that does is it adds those clips to the highlights summary page of that book. but you can also go back and find those highlights in your account later. So if you click on the, see if I can make that bigger, there you go, the Just Highlights button, this will purely show you all of the key pieces of coverage in your account that you've added. If you like, you can just create a report from all of those. You can individually select those, or if you prefer, you can actually look at the individual highlights that you had per month in each of your books. And obviously from here, I can see that I've got these 4 clips that were my best pieces in January. So again, I can select those and I can add those to a best pieces of coverage roundup report. So this will just include the highlighted pieces of coverage. And so if ever you get asked by a client, what are my best bits for the year? You can quickly and easily get to those and hopefully create a nice report to showcase those for your report readers as well. Just to mention that if you do make a highlights only book, the metrics summary page will only total up those pieces of coverage. So it won't include all of the pieces of coverage for your client. So you might actually prefer just to show the coverage itself without the metrics. And if you do like to do that, what you can do is just hide the metrics summary page from the report. And then it's also possible, if you go to the book overview page in the top left-hand corner here, click on metrics and backlinks, and you can just toggle off all of the metrics in the report. So what you'll essentially end up with when you share the report is just a visually impactful report that just contains those pieces of coverage that you can share as your best pieces. Just 2 other things to mention, because I'm running a little bit over time today. If you tend to use the same formatting for your clients as well, you can just make a template of any of your books in your account. So just click on the 3 dots to the bottom right, go to the copy option, and then from here you can copy the report as a template. And what this does is it will just make a blank report. It'll take out all of the coverage, but will leave in all of your logos, formatting, custom pages, sections that you've added, and so on. So that might save you a bit of time in having to sort of add all of that stuff again. As I say, if you create summary reports, your original reports will still remain intact and exactly as they were, so that won't change. So this is just you kind of reusing coverage to add to new reports rather than kind of creating sort of smashed together ones. So you will always have your original books saved. And then the final thing to mention from me, I promise, is when you are making these summary reports, if you would like to just get hold of the data over a particular time period or whatever, if you click on the share book option on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you have the option to download a CSV of all of the data in your report. So as I say, if you are looking just to export data over a particular selection of clips, I would suggest using the Coverage Vault page to build that book first, and then you can download a CSV just to get to all of the data. So this will include all of the metric summary numbers in a spreadsheet, and then you'll basically get everything else. So all of the links, titles, dates, metrics, and everything all included. So that's pretty much everything from me. Hopefully you found that useful. I see there's been a few questions on the chat. Did you have anything you wanted me to go through in more detail?
I think you and Will have covered most of it. There's a couple to loop back to. There's one where you have covered this briefly, but I think the question came in afterwards, so it might be best to go back. Are you able to tick online and print and make a report out of it? So I think you were showing how you can click a selection. I think the question is asking, can you do 2 selections? So it might be worth just showing how you would do one and then another and add them to a book.
Yeah, sure. So in the coverage vault page at the moment, you can't kind of multi-select different options at once, like a checkbox. So essentially, what you would need to do is go to media type, perhaps go to your online coverage first, select that, and then add it to a book. And then once you've created the book, you can then go back into the coverage vault page, go and find the next set of media type that you want to use, such as print coverage. You can select all, and then and as you already have the book created, now you can just go to add selection to existing book. Sorry, I've just made my screen magnification large. And then from here, you can choose which report you want to add it to. So it would be the same process. You would just need to do one media type after another. But actually, it's a really good suggestion to have a multi-select feature for choosing more than one thing at a time. So yeah, thank you for that.
And I think the last question disappeared, but I will remember it from the top of my head. There was a customer not quite to do with end of year reports, but I guess actually is related. They said they were a new customer and they don't have all their clippings in coverage book yet. What would be your recommendations for the fastest way to catch up?
Oh, really good question. I would probably suggest, sorry to sort of swerve this one live, but I would probably suggest emailing us at support@coveragebook.com and we can have a bit of a chat about that, because it depends what sort of plan you're on. So our monthly plans have a maximum clip usage limit that you can upload. So it might be that you want to upgrade to a higher plan with more usage to import all of your clips at once. Or it might be that you want to kind of add those as you go. Yeah, it really is up to you. If you get in touch with us on support, we can help you out with some good advice on what to do based on your individual circumstances there.
That's fair enough. And I think that might be all the questions. Does anybody else have any questions to ask? I'll leave the chat open for a little bit.
I did just see one actually, Laura, about what's the difference between offline and print.
I think Will's just covered that one.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Will.
But they did say, could you possibly repeat the last part you said about collating all the data into a spreadsheet?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, if you create reports, any report in your account, you can get a CSV, just the data in a spreadsheet format. So you can do this at any point. So for example, I can go into my client's January coverage, and if you go to the share book option on the bottom left-hand corner, you have the three options of sharing. So there's the online shared book that you can send to clients, you can download a PDF, and there's also a CSV export option. By the way, you can actually turn this off if you don't want your clients to have access to the CSV. And then all you need to do is click on download CSV. And what it does is it exports all of the data out of a book into a spreadsheet friendly format. So at the moment, there's no way of getting a CSV of a selection of coverage other than by creating a report first. So if, for example, you did want to export all of your clients' coverage through the year as a spreadsheet, that might be where you'd use the published on earliest and latest dates to make that annual book. And then from there, you can get just the data from that selection of clips in your report. So yeah, hope that helps. If you have any questions on that, again, yeah, do get through to us on support and we'll be happy to help out there.
And I've had a few people come through asking about the difference between offline and print. I think Will's been answering, but might be worth a worded answer as well, if you want to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have lots of different coverage types that you can choose from in Coverage Book. But essentially, we would suggest that online coverage would be a regular website article or a blog post or something like that. Obviously, social coverage will be all of your social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And then offline will really encompass any other kind of media. So print is its own kind of outlet in itself, but you can also consider offline coverage to be I haven't got any in here, but like broadcast and radio, for example, would be two other sort of examples where we would count that as offline coverage, because it's not strictly something that you would view on a website as such. But within Coverage Book, there are lots of different ways that you can present coverage as well. So if you go to the metrics summary page and click on choose metrics, in the coverage counts section, you can show them in so many different ways. So you can total all of the offline pieces, or you can break those out into print, broadcast, and radio individually, and you can do the same for things like social online. So hopefully that's answered your question. Yeah, print is a newspaper publication, and then offline will be everything else that isn't a traditional website or social post.
Well, thank you. I think that's answered it. Katie says, slightly bouncing off this question, are you able to filter by industry and online and print? So tech print, tech online, fashion print, fashion online.
No, is the short. That would be a really good feature. I mean, that's probably straying into the tagging territory a little bit, I think. So at the moment, we can purely just search on the kind of the automated parameters that we pull through when you import coverage. So that will be the article publication or title. You know, one of the other questions we get asked is, can you filter by the location of where the coverage is from? And that's also something that we can't do automatically. But thinking about that globally, it might be something that we look at in a different way in future, where you may be able to kind of classify your coverage to make it easier to find later on. But that's certainly a future idea that we need to explore.
However, Katie, I would say, and everybody else, if you have questions, or you want to be able to do things like filter by industry and the different print and offline, it's always worth dropping us a line at support@coveragebook.com just to say, I would like to be able to do this and why, because we're always looking at where else to take the tool and what to add. And so it's always useful excuse me, sorry, to see the different use cases of what you're trying to search for and what you want to do. And we always build it into the conversations around the tool. Katie says, thank you. And one other, can you filter by key message or sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's something we get asked about quite a lot. And I think do you know what, it'd be really good actually if you could come through to us on support, because I'd love to chat to you more about this and get some feedback from you on how you would like to kind of use this. But it does sound like you're looking for probably a higher level of sort of tagging or classification. So it would be really good to chat to you about that, to get some ideas on how you'd like to see that working.
Yeah. And I think, Katie says, will do, thank you. Perfect. And so I think that wraps it up for today and the demos for this year. We will be continuing with them in the new year. We'll probably go down to one a month, but you'll continue to see our lovely faces. As always, and as I promised, I will package this up in an email for all of you guys so you can see the recording and whiz back to any bits that you wanted. And I think that's left. So I guess all that's left to say is happy Christmas and have a lovely new year. And I really hope you get your end of year reports done soon. It was always my least favourite part of the job.
Yes.
Right.
Happy New Year, and yeah, happy Christmas as well.
Bye.
Bye.